Hapless teenagers beset by demons in the woods. A strange new drug that turns art into murder. A can't beat a deal on a new house with a horrifying past. A video game that might usher in the apocalypse. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires, Shadow Play, and Murder Virus, comes Volume 4, collecting Baker's no-sleep work along with several never-before-published short stories. This 99-cent volume also includes the opening chapter of the author's forthcoming teenage giallo novel, Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, due out later this year.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. My name is Sean.
And I'm Missy.
And we're going to talk about a Ryan Kruger thing. That's right.
Yeah.
The director of Fried Berry is back with Street Trash. And this is on Prime right now as a $4.99 rental. I would pay thrice that to watch this movie. I wish I could have seen this movie. They premiered it at Tarantino's theater a couple weeks ago, the New Bev in LA. Oh man, I was jealous when I saw that announcement and the photos. I'm even more jealous after having now watched this movie twice today. I just finished a rewatch.
Oh wow, okay. That's awesome that it premiered at Tarantino's theater though. That's a good time.
For diehard old school fans of J. Michael Murrow's original Street Trash from 1987, this is not a remake. I believe it's been marketed as a remake. There is literally a line in this movie that positions it as a direct sequel. I rewatched the original Street Trash today as well. I had a very Street Trash day. I also just
Okay.
I decided to drink some fucking Thunderbird and stumble around my neighborhood with my pants around my ankles screaming. So, I just wanted to kind of get in the mood. The original Street Trash is a piece of work. I enjoy it, except for there's a couple things I'm like, man, I don't know, that's fucked up that the scene with the drunk woman, luckily there's nothing necessarily explicit, but it's just yeah, it's very, very fucked up.
I think that is around when I noped out because I
can see that.
I think I've seen pieces of the original one in the past, and then during 31 Days of October, I tried to I'm gonna give it another chance. I was watching it with Joe Bob. I couldn't even get through it with Joe Bob. It just I liked seeing the practical effects and the people melting, like the body melting and everything was great, but it had a bit of a mean spirit with a really rapey vibe running through it, and it just there wasn't enough. I wanted more goo monsters and less of that.
It is a really weird movie in that, and I guess the sequel kind of does this too, where there needs to be a villain other than just the Viper, right? So in the original, it's this guy with a liquor store finds this in New York, finds this crate buried in the walls of his liquor store, pulls it out. He's like, oh, this shit must be 60 years old, puts it out for $1 a bottle. Bums start buying it and drinking it, and they melt and explode. But there's also this skirmish between these different factions of homeless people. The one guy Bronson is a Vietnam vet, completely fucking crazy, has a knife made out of a femur. Um, Cops get involved. So there's like all these different stress points, and it kind of just oozes all over the place, pun intended. And it's enjoyable, except for like definitely some of the rapier stuff is like just really like Jesus fucking Christ, man, come on. But the effects are awesome, and even though the story is kind of like lackluster, it doesn't really matter. It is very much a product of its time. And Ryan Kruger, this is like you say, this is a fucking true mutant movie.
Uh-huh.
His
Oh yeah.
his new one is just he captures the spirit of because there's kind of a similar like amorphous quality to some of the stuff going on here, and kind of the way that it's even constructed with technique, like camera work and effects and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
it is just fucking awesome. It's so fun. It reminds me a little bit of VFW, gorier.
Hmm. Me too.
What do you think? How did you feel about watching this today?
This is what I wanted Street Trash to be. When I watched the original, this is what I wanted. Um, it, it's got this fun dystopian vibe. Um, the practical effects are outstanding.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's funny. It's goofy. It's gory and splattery, and it's just super fun. I had a great time with it, and I was a little bit skeptical about it because I wasn't impressed with the original. And to diehard fans, I'm sorry. I mean, I get why people love it. There's just I don't know, just didn't have enough story to work for me.
Hmm.
But I love dystopian shit, and this feels it feels relevant to the times without while still being immersed in its fantasy world, so it doesn't feel icky.
Yeah.
It feels like a good outlet. Um, it definitely has like RoboCop kind of vibes to it,
Yeah.
and um, just I had a real good time with it. It's a perfect mutant movie. I mean, all three Bs are not represented. We don't have any breasts, but
Yes.
you do get a really cool scene with a wing doodle, so
Yes.
it
Uh, th
balances out.
there's a scene near the end when and we're spoiler free. This isn't really spoiling anything, but there's like a high society woman who is exposed in this melee that's happening, and her breasts are
Yeah,
melting and popping. So technically, you could say,
but you don't really see it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
bubbles and green exploding goo, but that's fine. It was I mean it was fucking delightful.
I love the characters.
Yeah, me too.
You know, you're introduced to um
This little group,
this
you
little
know.
group. I hate to use this term, but it feels so right. But I hate the term, this ragtag group of, you know, and again, there's like a homeless faction because there's like our protagonists, and they take somebody in, like they save a girl from this other faction of the homeless, and then she's kind of becomes part of their crew, and then that's kind of your window as a viewer into it. And the characters are just all so great. There's Ronald is like the leader. There's Chef, Pap, and Wars, the two nicest vegan-friendly crack addicts anybody will ever meet. They do a brilliant thing where there's one named Awfully, and he's off camera. So whenever they
You
talk
never
to him,
see him.
you see his hand come out, you know. Um,
Right.
but I will tell you, there was a moment I didn't catch the first time I watched it where I think he was actually on screen. Because I was like, wait a minute, who the fuck
Oh,
is this guy? And they just didn't even, he's like standing there with the rest of them. I'm like, we haven't seen this guy before.
like just to see if you notice him.
And
I
then he
missed
was
it.
gone again and never came. And I was like, what? What? Um,
So they're probably just fucking with us then.
right. Alex is the newcomer. And then you get my favorite. So Gary
Mhm.
Green is the guy that played Fried Barry, and he plays Two Bit, and he's a dude that walks around talking to himself, but he's not talking to himself. He's talking to a little fucking puppet thing named
Yeah, little blue
Sokol,
monster.
voiced by Ryan Kruger, and it is fucking hysterical.
It looks like something out of a Frank Henenlotter movie.
This movie is just a fucking love letter to Henenlotter, to the original Street Trash. Um, there's a direct quote done in a way that is like it's a Buckaroo Banzai quote near the end of the movie, and I'm like, it's just like I, I just was there's a direct visual reference to RoboCop, um, a splattery one.
Mhm.
Uh, there's just so much love here, but also Ryan Kruger did such an original thing, and man, this is easily going to be in my top of the year. Like, I just absolutely fucking love this. This was the funnest movie maybe so far this year.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I mean, you said you enjoy the original Street Trash, so it's not just, I didn't like the first one, oh, but I like the new one.
Right.
But you do like the original and you enjoyed this just as much.
And I would have enjoyed it anyway, but I enjoyed it even more simply because they have this line where it's like it's no longer just a wine. It's also been like turned into this. I mean, they set this up in the trailer, like this mayor
Hmm.
it's kind of dystopian totalitarian, but while being like funny, like they treat it in this weird way where it doesn't come off super dire because it's not the tone of the film.
But dire enough.
Dire, no, yeah,
It's got some 1984 vibes, but then you
definitely.
get Two-Bit talking to his invisible blue friend, and it balances well.
Yes, definitely, definitely. But so the mayor is using this I forget what it's called, like V238 or whatever
Viper.
it is, the chemical. And there's literally a line where the scientist says, "We were able to take the sample we collected from the incident in New York in 1986
Hmm.
and synthesize it." I,
And
I
that's
could,
enough. That's perfect.
it's perfect. It's just absolutely perfect. Oh, chef's
And
kiss, Ryan
otherwise,
Kruger.
it tells it tells its own story. It stands on its own feet. It's not a remake.
No.
It's just a sequel, and it's a fun one. And all the effects are practical, and they're fucking fantastic
Yeah, they are.
and gooey and gross and multicolored.
Yeah, just like the original. Um, Also just like the original severed penis. I feel like if anyone out there, if you're a fan of Hobo with a Shotgun or Psycho Goreman, this is your
Hmm.
fucking movie. That's like the best triple feature I could fucking think of right there.
Yeah, I love both of those. Um, I just feel like the original Street Trash has. I think it has um it's a little too mean spirited
It is.
with not enough payoff for for the mean spirit. Because
I
like
agree.
the Terrifier movies are mean spirited, but Art the Clown is funny and the practical effects are fantastic, and the payoff is good enough to tip it in its favor. I feel like it was the same kind of thing with the OG Street Trash, but it's not, it doesn't have enough.
I think a lot of the meanness comes from, I think it's naively mean in that I don't think they set out to be like mean, but it comes from a different era. I think the thing with the original, the only two characters that are really sympathetic, it's Wendy, and I think the character's name is Kevin, the younger kid. They kind of have the romance. Um,
Okay.
but they're barely in the fucking movie. That's what I had forgotten. Actually, when I
And they're
watched it
not
again
that
today,
interesting.
I was like, I felt like they had a much more of a presence, and like they're the really supposed to be, I feel like the main characters, but we follow the older brother Fred, or the guy with the long hair and the goofy hat, and then
Mm.
Bronson and this cop and they're all just shitty. I don't know. It's just weird. It gets lost in certain aspects, and then when it comes back to these characters we're supposed to care about and be rooting for, it's a little bit like too late. I still really like the movie. The
Okay.
effects just blow me away. From the first time I saw it, I was just like, this movie is just, bonkers. So while I enjoy it, if you were gonna say, would you pick one of the two, I would say Ryan Kruger's Forever. No
Hmm.
offense to J. Michael Murrow or anybody involved with the original, because we wouldn't have the new one if not for that. But
Right.
I just think Mr. Kruger fucking out of the park.
Well, and I mean, all the characters are fun, even the ones that are only on screen for a little bit.
Yeah. Man, I love them so much. Everybody in it was just,
Yeah, they're all cool, but Two Bit and Society are just fucking great.
yes, yeah. Oh, you
The
mean
two
Sockle?
old men.
Society's a drug dealer.
Yeah, Society.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Two Bit and Sockle.
No, not Sockle. I mean, Sockle is funny, but it's Sockle in moderation. It's just
Yeah,
the right amount
it was
with
just the right amount. I agree.
because
Agreed.
if they put a little bit more of him or humor into it, it might have been too much for me, but it was the right balance and it worked.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, Society was a very cool character.
He was a very cool character.
Man, I don't. So this is like a Scream Box, Bloody Disgusting, Not the Funeral Home. This is like a bunch of people brought this to be. So I'm assuming this is going to end up on Screambox. But for right now, it's on Prime and it's 4.99, and I just feel like it's absolutely 100% worth the $5 to see it.
Oh yeah, I mean, or you can just um buy it digitally for 9.99. I mean, if this is
What's
your
it?
kind of yeah, because after you had messaged me that it was great, I'm like I can rent it for $5 or I can just there's a pretty good chance I'm going to want to watch it more, so I'll
I
just
thought it was.
do the 9.
That's so funny. So Amazon is so weird.
Well,
It was.
I don't have the 4K though, so I always do the SD, which is a little cheaper.
Oh, maybe okay. Maybe that's why, because it said, and I don't have a 4K, but I'll do the high def, which isn't necessarily 4K. It's just high def.
Okay.
Maybe that's
But
why,
I
because I
mean,
was
I've
like,
got an older TV.
yeah. So it was 12.99 for I probably for the okay. So that makes sense because I was like, wow, I know, like when you look something up on Amazon and I look something up on Amazon, I don't know about digital, but like physical stuff, we're not going to have the same price.
Oh, really? I didn't
Oh, if you
know that.
put something in your cart, you're going to watch that shit go up and down. If you browse certain things, they'll drop the price
Mm-hmm.
to get you hooked. Like they have algorithms that adjust to get the sale regardless.
Mm.
Um, so that's why it just varies. So I wondered at first if that's what you were talking about, but no, that's probably what is standard definition versus high definition. So
Yeah, standard is always a couple bucks cheaper, but um, I ended up just buying the digital copy rather than renting it
that
because
makes
I
sense.
figured I would want to watch it more, and I'm glad I did because I will.
Yeah. I've already watched it twice. I got it for I think 2 more days for the rental. So because I think they changed the rental thing now where it's like once you rent it, you have 30 days to watch it. But it used to be 48 hours from the time you start it. Now I think
Uh-huh.
it's 72 hours.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I
I don't
thought the
know if
same thing, but usually if I rent it, I mean, I'm going to watch it
yeah,
10 minutes after I rented it.
same, exactly. I mean,
So I never really understood that, but whatever.
yeah, whatever, exactly. But yeah, I encourage people to watch this, and it is just like a bright, goopy, squelchy, uh, it's just super fun. It's action packed. It's funny but not too funny. It's dire but not too dire. I just feel like
Hmm.
Ryan Kruger nailed it. And
Yeah,
I just can't.
I'm really glad that you had been waiting for this and brought it up because I didn't know anything about it till you mentioned it like a couple weeks ago or something.
I've been
And
waiting for it since they
I know
announced
you
this a
have.
couple years ago. So it's like it's been on my radar for a long time.
Yeah, if you hadn't said, "Hey, let's watch this," I didn't like the original, so I probably wouldn't have bothered with it even if I noticed it.
Right.
So I'm glad you put it on the table. And I mean, if you like camp and you know just old school gooey, messy, splattery fucking movies, this is your jam. It's
Yep. Well
ridiculous
said.
and it's fun.
Well said. Oh, and that's Street Trash. And this is a Horror Vision. I'm Sean.
And I'm Missy.